Welcome to the Gold Newsletter Podcast, your bank of knowledge of investment, economics, and geopolitics. Go to goldnewsletter.com for our publications and archives.
Hello folks, this is Fergus Hodgson with the Gold Newsletter Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm excited about today's show. We have Catalina Castro of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and she is going to explain this rapidly evolving world of blockchain technology. She is an educational entrepreneur, is not necessarily a technician by profession, but is largely self-taught, which is great, so it's, I hope, easier for us to understand. And I'm pleased to welcome her to the show. So thank you, Catalina.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and look, Catalina, there's so much going on in this space. I cannot keep track. Just like you, I'm connected to the social media, digital world too much. But we get distracted, I guess, by politics. And I don't want to get too distracted right now because one of my friends is running for president in Argentina right now. But anyway, so...
Really? Wow.
Esper. You know the guy, the capitalist. You know the one. Basically, few of us understand what blockchain technology is, and I always recommend the article from Coin Center, a great Washington, D.C. Research institute. It's just what is blockchain, I think it is, and it describes the three qualities. But so I recommend people go there as a starting point. But why don't you tell us where this technology is actually having an impact, right? Where it's not just talk, because I fear there's a lot of maybe fluff in this space. Where is it actually being used? Okay,
so one of the main messages that I like to share with my audience is the importance of understanding the difference between a blockchain and an open blockchain. So the first thing that I recommend people to study is how the open blockchain of Bitcoin works, in order to understand that a block of chain is just one of the technologies behind Bitcoin, together with a decentralized algorithm such as proof of work, cryptography, the consensus rules, etc., to achieve decentralization. It just, people think, or people come to me and say, Catalina, I'm not that interested in Bitcoin, but I'm interested in the technology behind Bitcoin, which is the blockchain.
We've all heard this many times.
Yeah, and that is a clear example that people have no idea what this is all about, which is okay. I mean, we need to educate the masses, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in Latin America with my YouTube channel, creating educational content. And so people need to understand that a block of chain is just one of the elements behind Bitcoin to achieve decentralization, and the focus of the market is to achieve decentralization, that a blockchain is censorship resistant, global, neutral, highly secure, and decentralized, open to innovation, and so on. Those are the principles that people need to understand in order to see whether another technological project really can be or can take place in the following years. It doesn't work just like, I put a blockchain in this and it is immediately decentralized at a high level. So that is something that people need to take into consideration, and people need to invest their time in educating themselves and understanding the fundamentals first, because that gives you perspective. So the best use case for this technology is money. I am from Buenos Aires, Argentina. We have inflation here, and usually people ask me, okay, so people get it there, right? So you have the peso, you get more poor every day. And people understand Bitcoin immediately. And I'm like, no, unfortunately, no. It isn't until we reach extremes like Venezuela that people realize that they need to go to understand alternatives. So in Argentina,
it's almost like inflation and Argentina go hand in hand. If you look at the history of the country, unfortunately. And I was just in Buenos Aires, I'm trying to think, a month ago. And I went to my favorite restaurant, and everything was super cheap because I guess the currency has been devalued in the last couple of years. And when I was there living, well, first I went, there was a fake exchange rate. The government set exchange rate of, I think, 7 or so pesos per dollar, but the real was about 15. And now, what is it, 33 or something like that? What is the current rate?
44.
44?
So 44 pesos, yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So basically,
It's amazing.
you can tell that, so in the last 2 or 3 years since I've been there, or since I lived in Argentina,
Wow.
2/3 of the value of money has been wiped out. Okay, so everyone can tell that if you want to maintain any kind of wealth, you've got to get out of the peso, and either, I'm not sure what methods there are, but so this is really the great area of creative destruction that we want to see. We want to see superior alternatives to money. However, we always run into critics, right? And some people seem to take pride or enjoy the failures of cryptocurrencies because they're afraid of change. Maybe, I'm not sure, but there have been some scams. Did you hear about the one here in Canada where a guy who owned one of the trading platforms died, and he was the only one with the password?
With the private keys.
Yes.
So that's back to education. People, one of the questions that I asked Andreas Antonopoulos the other day when I interviewed him is, do you think people are prepared or want to be fully responsible for their money? And unfortunately, maybe the majority of the people are going to say no. Or maybe, they don't even know there is an alternative to that. And when they get robbed again, or the economy of the United States collapses again, maybe they will make a click and they will understand that they have an opportunity to be fully responsible of their money. And if you don't own your keys, your private keys, you have no access to your money. So it doesn't make sense to give your private keys to someone else when you know that the most powerful thing that Bitcoin gives people and humans for the first time is to be fully responsible for the money. So that guy, he was the only one who had the access to those private keys, and he didn't have any inheritance plan prepared. People couldn't have access to the money. It's unbelievable.
I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know if anyone has the access. So I think it's around $300 million that has been lost, which is out of control. Yeah, and so so that's a big problem. So here in Canada,
that is back to, for example, if he would have been fully aware that something can happen to all of us. I mean, we don't know. And Pamela Morgan, she wrote a book about how to make a plan for your crypto assets if something happens.
What is that book, if you'd repeat that for us? Because a lot of us, we don't want to just buy and hold. We want a bit more to do with cryptocurrencies, right? We want some sort of passive income. And so I'd be curious to read that book and see what she has to say about it.
Oh, absolutely. I would recommend that you do that. I'm Crypto Asset Inheritance Planning. That's her book.
Okay.
Which is super useful for all of us. And that is something that this guy should have done. And I don't know, if you are aware that you have so much money in your hands, please at least educate your son or your niece to have access to your crypto assets.
Well,
but it's all about education. It's all about education. One of the things that I want to educate the Latino community or everyone is about practical security. Practical security and inheritance planning with your crypto assets is super important, because otherwise there's no central authority that you can go and say, hey, give me my money or give me my dad's money. It doesn't work that way.
No, it's one of the ironies that, of course, with the digital age, with the internet era, first or initially there was a great decentralization of information, and it's the same with cryptocurrencies, a great decentralization, but then maybe it's just humanity's herd behavior that we want to get together on exchanges or on connected social media platforms, which make us vulnerable all over again. So does that mean you're reluctant to endorse these online exchanges that do pull people's assets together?
Yeah, well, nowadays we're seeing more decentralized exchanges as well.
Okay.
And it's all about most people invest in crypto and they are not even aware of what it is, how the open blockchain of Bitcoin works, and that they have the right or they have the option to be fully responsible for their money. And they just put it there to trade or they just hold in those exchanges, and it's all back to education. I think people do it for many different reasons, And one of them is lack of education, because they don't know they should be putting their crypto assets in a secure and...
Yeah, well, one of the challenges is that people obviously want easy access between their bank accounts and cryptocurrencies, which leads to these exchanges. And that's a vulnerability which maybe in the long run will go away, because if more and more people will just move to cryptocurrencies in general, there will not be the need to go back and forth between state or fiat currencies and the new private currencies. When I referred to scams, I just mentioned that Canadian example. I think the guy was out in Halifax. I should get a link to that one. But
okay.
Do you want to give any warning signs to people? I mean, my sense is, I hate to say this, because this is the Wild West and still a very new era, there are plenty of bad actors. So what red flags do you look for, or how do you point people to scams?
Yeah, so two main things that I want to highlight here. One is regarding education. Again, for example, when we had the bubble of ICOs, the majority of those were technological projects that they were planning to use a blockchain to decentralize some aspects of society or to do something. Okay. And in a technical level, nowadays, it is not possible to achieve those levels of decentralization. And there's a lot of hype, okay? So be careful what they are trying to sell to you. You need to educate yourself in order to be able to identify the good projects, okay? So a lot of ICOs, they were either scams, or they just failed, or it was obvious that they were not going to be able to fulfill their promises because of the evolution of this technology. You know what I mean? So that is one type of scams. I would define them, because they knew that they were not going to fulfill those promises in the short term, or in the period of time that they were aiming to do so. And the other kind of scams is more obvious, the pyramid schemes. Here in Latin America, we had so many of them, and we still do, unfortunately. And people, I would say, maybe because, a lack of education in general, but people want easy money here.
Sure.
And there people are more desperate for easy money,
yes.
Unfortunately, and maybe they put their savings in something that they have no idea what this is all about. And after all the pyramid schemes and scams that we had in 2017, that we had like a lot of them, nowadays we had a bad perception of a lot of people in Latin America. They recognize Bitcoin as a scam.
Oh, really?
Itself.
Okay.
And so they don't even know that these people were using Bitcoin as a payment method for the pyramid schemes.
Exactly. They could have been using cash, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that is, again, people misunderstood what the aim of Bitcoin and what it is all about.
Every month, for nearly 50 years, Gold Newsletter has unearthed high-potential investment opportunities in metals and mining stocks that mainstream investors didn't even know existed. The value and profit potential we pack into each and every issue of Gold Newsletter make it an absolute steal at just $198 per year. Your subscription includes 2 special reports, Money Multipliers, resource stocks poised to triple, and The Investor's Guide to Gold and Silver. To subscribe, visit www.goldnewsletter.com and click subscribe now to discover how to multiply your returns in today's gold bull market.
Yeah, one thing just to say that it is the Wild West. That's why you have to take responsibility for your own engagement. And the incentives for con men are enormous, right? Consider that there are a dozen cryptocurrencies that have market capitalizations more than $1 billion and 792 with more than $1 million. Now, I'm not a betting man, but my guess is that there are not going to be 792 cryptocurrencies in wide circulation. That's out of control. Mm-hmm. So one of my good friends, he's a professor in Guatemala, he wrote an article explaining that the real bubble is not in Bitcoin. He was saying it was in the altcoins, and that there's just a huge burgeoning of these alternatives, which I don't see any of them. Well, some like the top dozen or so that actually are competing with Bitcoin, fine. One of them may unseat Bitcoin in the long run, but most of these are just a waste of time. I don't mind people for innovating, but there's just a great deal of room for bad actors in that mix. But my hope is like yours that the capacity of the cryptocurrencies to unseat conventional currencies still is there. We've had Larry White on one of our shows explaining the shortcomings, the technological shortcomings that have to be overcome, such as price stability and cost of transactions, privacy, these things that will come with time.
Sure. It's early.
It is. We are in early days, but the dream is there. So
Absolutely.
That's why I've been excited about this for so long. For people who hear this, Tim, you said there's a lot of confusion, and I must admit that I've been maybe subject to that as well. What is a blockchain, and how does it actually work?
Okay, so a blockchain, for example, in Bitcoin, for example, when I want to make a transaction to you, let's say I want to transfer 0.5 Bitcoin, the miners, that transaction is going to be unconfirmed, and that information is going to be propagated to all the networks, to the computers in the network, and that transaction is going to be in something that is called a mempool, and a miner is going to come pick those transactions that are unconfirmed, and they are going to put it in a blockchain, in a block, okay, that after it is mined is going to be extended in the block of chain. So it could be a sum of all the transactions.
Right. Yeah, let me try and interpret that. So basically the block is, as you said, a collection of records of transactions, okay, and then
Correct.
The chain is that they may be the connection to the next block of all these transactions.
Correct. They are cryptographically connected through the hash of each one of those blocks, which is like a summary of everything that is inside of that block. So whenever a transaction needs to be confirmed, the miner puts it in a block together with all the transactions, with the Coinbase transaction, and he's going to construct this block, a candidate block, to be extended in the block of chain. And then the miners, they need to do what they need to do to find the nonce, to mine the block, and be able to confirm those transactions and extend the block of chain. So all the information is connected to all the blocks that have been mined before through the hash of each one of those blocks.
Right.
Just to summarize, to have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge with this actually is that we obviously cannot address it all in 20 minutes or half an hour. Are you familiar with the program by the University of Nicosia in, I think, where is it? In Crete or somewhere like that? In the Mediterranean. The Master of Science in Digital.
No, I am not.
Master of Digital Currency, actually. There are online programs where you can take, let's say, a much more in-depth assessment of cryptocurrencies, which is probably worth a lot of people's time. Do you have any that you recommend, aside from yours, which are in Spanish, so for the Hispanic audience?
Actually, besides my YouTube channel that you have educational videos, I am actually currently creating an academy where you can find courses about the fundamentals, programming on Bitcoin.
Will this be online or in Buenos Aires?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Here in Buenos Aires and in whole Argentina, and then online as well. So that has been my aim since the beginning. And we are currently, we launched it already, but the online version is still on the process.
Give us a plug. What's the website and name?
It is called Crypto Resources.
Yes.
And there you can find my information and about what we are building. But we just launched it.
Okay.
So right now we are providing this for the people in Buenos Aires, and as soon as I have it online, I will promote it in my channel, because we need to focus on education for sure.
This is great. Excellent.
Fergus, and one of the things that we were talking what a blockchain is, what
Yes.
I have just explained to you is
Right.
a block is constructed from all the transactions that needed to be confirmed, and we know that the miners are going to do the proof of work for that specific block in order to find the nonce and be able to mine it and extend it in the block of chain. But the magic behind the open blockchain of Bitcoin is that it is done in a decentralized way, together with the other elements behind Bitcoin to achieve decentralization. And that is the difference between Bitcoin and to put a blockchain in a more centralized environment. And that is very important to understand nowadays. That is what gives you perspective, you know? So
Well,
Bitcoin is all about keeping the transactions flowing in the system in a decentralized way. It is not just a block of chain in Bitcoin. It's about like making those transactions flow in the system in a decentralized way. That is very important.
right.
That I wanted to highlight.
No, I know there's a lot. There's a lot to say about that, and I know that there are blockchains or cryptocurrencies that are private and closed and would be actually managed like a private central bank. I don't know whether they will prove more successful. I think is it Initiative Q, something like that. A bunch of economists in the United States are working on this project.
Initiative Q, isn't that a scam?
No, I mean, look, Larry White, one of the guys who's been on this show, is a consultant with that project, and I need to look back. I need to look back at it, but basically there are many attempts right now to create what are called stable coins, given the concern that Bitcoin has just been too erratic. And one of them, I thought it was called Initiative Q, but maybe I'm getting it mixed up. Larry White.
No, I don't think
it's the same one, and it's a scam.
Maybe,
you say?
Yeah, Initiative Q is all you can search it. Even I made a video about this
with a Q, one letter.
Yeah, no, this is 100% a scam because this is just people with a database trying to get people's information that have the mindset to make money fast.
Oh.
And they are just trying to collect data, and they are trying to like do something like PayPal. But what is the reason of creating a system again that it is in hands of a very small group of people? That's why I highlight the importance.
So you don't.
Let
me have a look at this. It is Initiative for Q, and I'll have to check out your video on this.
It is in Spanish, unfortunately, but I will send you.
Check
out the video that my friend Ivan on Tech. Ivan on Tech is a good friend of mine from Sweden. He made a good video about Initiative Q, and I did something similar. And here is a clear example of why we need to understand what's centralized and decentralized.
It is not decentralized. There's no claim that it's decentralized. Yeah.
But you were saying about stablecoins. Stablecoins is something super interesting. And today I was talking to a group of entrepreneurs here in Argentina that they are trying to build. They are building a stablecoin on top of Bitcoin, on top of RSK, which is on top of the most secure and censorship-resistant system.
Okay.
So that is something. The project is called Money on Chain. And I would suggest that you all check it out and compare compare. No, I'm not even working with them.
I'm glad to take that. I'm taking that recommendation. It's just funny because I've not bought into Initiative Q or anything like that. I mean, but I do know many high-profile economists in the United States have been promoting this. Actually,
oh my God, I cannot believe that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because maybe they are against Bitcoin.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Bitcoin takes away all the power, the power just in a few people.
Yeah, well, you should know that with Initiative, I agree that Initiative Q is not decentralized. That's a fact. The economist whom we had on this show, Larry White, is one of the, if not the most preeminent scholars of free banking in the world. And I mean, I guess they just paid him to do some consulting work for them. I don't know.
All the banks are against Bitcoin.
No, I know. No, free banking. He's in favor of private banking. Yes, yeah. So, okay. What the other question I had was that is there still a bubble in this era? Because there are around, at least if you go to CoinMap, the website is coinmap.org, I think. If you go to CoinMap, there are about 14,000, coinmap.org, there are 14,000 vendors that accept cryptocurrencies in the world, at least listed
vendors.
There. Yes.
Okay.
However, the vast majority, this is my understanding, of people who hold cryptocurrencies do so like I do. They just hold them. They're not really using them on a day-to-day basis. And in fact, I used to use cryptocurrencies to pay people. But as Bitcoin became more expensive, I just went back to traditional methods, unfortunately. So I am one of the. So, but basically, what I mean though is that if so many people are just buying to hold, does that suggest that there's a bubble still, even though there was a pop, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago?
I think we are going to see many bubbles. I think it's part of the evolution of the technology, the evolution of the market, the evolution of people, the speculators along the market until they mature and they get educated. For example, the bubble, when people used to tell me, no, because Bitcoin and crypto is in a bubble. So do you understand why it is in a bubble? Do you understand the fundamentals, why Bitcoin is important? Do you understand why we have a bubble and why people are speculating? Do you understand that this is a market based on technology, emerging technology, that we haven't even achieved the optimization phase of this market? So I think we're going to see many bubbles. Whether we're in a bubble or not, it doesn't
really matter. The technology is the issue.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, So it's a clear example that the masses are speculators, that human beings are incapable of buying at a low prices and selling at high prices. FOMO is going to be there, and panic selling as well.
Right.
I think there are two different things: the evolution of the technology and what what Bitcoin represents. It's totally separated from the price and the bubbles what we are going to face. But I do believe that the ecosystem is maturing in that sense. For example, the people who are in crypto right now, let's say that they invested in a pyramid scheme or in an ICO that failed or something like that. Now they learned. It's part of the learning process. If you were a speculator and you invested without knowing, now you say, okay, I learned and I'm staying here and now I know. It's part of the evolution of everything. And I think it's going to happen again, but the market is going to be more clean in a way that we're going to see, hopefully, in the following years, regulations, and we're going to have less crypto altcoins, and people understanding that the focus of this market is decentralization. And by them getting educated, they are going to be able to compare what's important, what is not important, what is relevant, what will have a use case in the short, middle, or long term, and they are going to be wiser in terms of choosing what to invest in.
Okay. Well, I just remember at the end of 2017 when I went back to New Zealand, and my father, who barely can use a computer, he lives on a farm. He was asking me about Bitcoin. I just thought, well, if my father is curious about it, there's a lot of name recognition out there, but not a lot of understanding, as you said. And that was the peak of the bubble, basically. That I think maybe early in 2018 was when the pop came. But okay, and one of my friends lost a lot of money on that, which was crazy. So okay, so Tech con Catalina is the YouTube channel, and
in Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so many people in the United States understand Spanish now. And do you have any other platforms you want to promote? Just follow you on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, Twitter. I'm Tech con Catalina on Twitter. If you have any friends, family that they speak Spanish, and I will start my English channel as well. It's on hold. One of the things that I recognize is there are a lot of successful YouTube channels out there, but the majority of them, they talk about the news and the price. And what I want to give the community is a new perspective and talk about the technical aspects while I'm learning. My message is, if I can learn this, everyone can, in order to have, maybe in the future, we're going to reach a point in which we're not going to need to understand the fundamentals of how everything works.
It'll just work. It'll just function.
Yeah, but right now, if you're in 2019 in the crypto space, or you're interested in investing, you need to understand this for your own financial circumstances, and why not develop the skills and the knowledge that is going to be highly demanded in the following years and decades. So the more you know, the more perspective you have, and the more you have to offer. So that's why I want to provide this quality content, educational content about the tech in English as well. I don't see a lot of people providing this for free.
Sure.
Except other than Andreas Antonopoulos and maybe Jimmy Zong, there are not many people like teaching the masses, and even the people in the crypto space, about the fundamentals. And even the people in the crypto space, they do not know the fundamentals, which is
scary sometimes.
Something they should know. Yeah, I think I think so.
Folks, follow Tech con Catalina or Catalina Castro. I'm super pleased we got to do the show. So I'll just say I get to Argentina a lot. I hope we get to cross paths at some point.
Absolutely, if you come here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but Jose Luis is the candidate. Jose Luis Espero. I shared his Twitter with you.
Okay.
You know the candidate. I mean, maybe you're just apolitical and don't follow these things, but there's a capitalist candidate running in Argentina, which is almost unheard of. You don't know him. Jose Luis
check it out.
Yeah, anyway,
No.
But when I was living there, I went to an asado.
Un asado. Mm-hmm.
He was there chatting. We were just discussing what's going on with Argentina and how to make Argentina more like New Zealand, perhaps, with liberal reforms. And I didn't know he was going to run for president, but now he is. And he's the guy you should be behind. I mean, anyway. But I'll send you a note, too, about this program, this Master of Digital Currency, because it might even be something that you want to consider yourself.
There are many things that I want to do, but sure, send it over. Everything regarding education is super welcome. So sure, send it over. I'm interested in checking it out. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, Catalina.
Thank you for having me, Fergus.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.